Okay, welcome back. We're talking about Hanukkah in Colossians chapter 2, verse 18. Again, let no one keep defrauding you of your prize by delighting in self-abasement and the worship of the angels, taking his stand on visions he has seen, inflated without cause by his fleshly mind. So look, it's forms of godliness. A lot of it brought either by angels or by demons. The word angels is messengers. It can be angels or demons. The context kind of figures it out, so they assigned it as angels. But listen, worship of the angels, who worships angels? Who worships angels? But when you partake of an idol's temple and partake of the sacrifice of the idol's temple, and the altar on the day of sacrifice, you have had fellowship or worship of demon spirits, the messengers of Satan. Listen, the idol of Easter, by the word Easter is the Nordic goddess of fertility. Same thing as Astarte and so forth. It's the goddess of fertility. It's a demon spirit. And people worship, they think they're worshiping Jesus. You're not worshiping the resurrection of Jesus. You're worshiping the resurrection of the fertility goddess. Look it up. And that's what he's meaning here. It's not worship of angels, it's worship of demons. When you partake of that holy day, which is not holy, it's a demonic holy day, whether it's Christmas, Easter, Halloween, whatever, you're partaking of the worship of a demon spirit. I don't know any Christians that worship angels or that would even think of it. Taking a stand on visions he has seen. How many of you have you heard that? Oh, I had a vision, and the Lord told me to do this or to do this or to do this. And they throw aside the Word of God. They throw aside any chance that there should be a second witness or a third witness. They throw aside counsel. And they say, no, I had a vision. I'm standing on that vision. Isn't that amazing? Inflated without cause by their fleshly mind. So their fleshly mind says, because it was mine, it must be right. I don't need a second opinion. It must be right. And if it doesn't work out the way that I think that it should, I'm going to judge God. And that's what most people say, and that's what they do. And that's what they do. I have seen this over and over again in the years that I've ministered. I can't tell you how many visions I've heard of, been told about, heard myself, and not seen them ever come to pass. As a matter of fact, the people finally die, and they never come to pass. Oh, they sounded good when they were brought. They sounded like true visions and tongues and interpretations. But it was really their fleshly minds that was telling them, I'm somebody, and I'm the one that usually brings visions and tongues and interpretations, so I'm going to bring one. I know a man that got kicked out of his church because he brought so much that was an error. Listen, if it doesn't line up with the Word of God, drop it. If you have a vision that you need to be playing Santa Claus in your church and all of that, listen, that vision was not of God. That was your own mind, or it was a demon spirit. Our responsibility is to focus on and follow the Word of God. Some people call me a legalist. Oh, that's an easy way out of following the Word of God. That's an easy way out. Listen, I'm not a legalist. Wait till you hear my teaching on tithing. I'll show you I'm not. Verse 19. And not holding fast to the head, from whom the whole body, being supplied and held together by the joints and ligaments, grows with a growth which is from God. I tell you what, I just love this verse. This is just incredible because you see, a church can grow with a growth that's not from God. You can bring all kinds in. They're inviting the world in to the churches now. And the world in their sin, and they never preach against the sin. So they're letting people who are dead and separated from God come in and stay dead and stay separated from God. Because they want their church to grow. They want a growth that's not from God. We're very small and few in number because I refuse to compromise the Word of God in the teaching. I refuse to compromise the Spirit of the Lord in the worship. I refuse to compromise, and those who couldn't stand that, they left. I'm not going to compromise for numbers. I won't. If you come in, I'm going to help us all grow in God to the best of everyone's ability. But it's really up to you. All I can do is point the way. I'm not a legalist. I'm not an overseer. I'm not going to put my thumb down on you. Again, wait to hear my teaching on tithing. All right, verse 20. I have to move on. If you have died with Christ to the elementary principles of the world, why? As if you were living in the world, do you submit yourselves to decrees such as do not handle, do not taste, do not touch, all of which refer to things destined to perish with the use, in accordance with the commandments and teachings of men. So what he's saying here is this. If you have died with Christ into the elementary principles of the world, why are you living, as such, were you living in the world? Do you submit yourselves to decrees such as don't handle, don't taste, don't touch? In other words, you will be holy if you only do these special things. I have a friend of mine, this lady, that has been convinced. I haven't been able to unconvince her, though I love her to death. The Lord will convince her. But she says, Jesus doesn't hear you pray unless you say his name in Hebrew. And so I look at her and I say, sister, that's really interesting. So he doesn't recognize it when I say Jesus. Oh, it's got to be in Hebrew. You got to use this Hebrew name. He was Hebrew. I said, oh, that's right. So he probably didn't know any other language. No, do you think he knows other languages now? And he's had a lot of time to study other languages. Do you think he knows other languages now? You know? So, sister, so that means that all these millions and millions of Chinese Christians that are crying out Jesus in their language, they're not heard, and they're being martyred right at this moment. But they're not saved because they didn't say his name in Hebrew. And then that's the same thing in the Middle East, where if they worship Jesus openly and in Hebrew, they'll be found out by the Muslims and beheaded. So they shouldn't use Arabic. They shouldn't use Iraqi or Lebanese. Really, I think Jesus hears us in whatever language you speak. This just happens to be English. And he knows us very well. And he hears us very well by using his English name, because he knows English. He knows Mandarin Chinese. He knows American Indian. He knows every language, because there is no language barrier in heaven. It's just like before the Tower of Babel. Everybody understood one another. You just think a thought and they get it perfectly. It doesn't have to be translated. All these things, do not handle, do not touch. This, though, does not nullify 1 Corinthians 10. It doesn't nullify 1 Corinthians 10, where Paul tells us, look, you can partake of meat on the meat market that actually was sacrificed to an idol, as long as it's not on the holy day of that idol where it was sacrificed. Because then you become a partaker with its altar. And then you are a partaker of the demon inside the altar. The altar of Christmas is what? It's the tree. It's the tree. And it's the wreath. All of those symbols. So do not handle, do not taste, do not touch does not nullify 1 Corinthians chapter 10, where Paul says, do not partake of a demon spirit. Do not handle, do not taste, do not touch is referring to the Jewish holy days. That's the context. We just read it. The Jewish holy days. And all the rules that the Pharisees had put together. All right, verse 23. These are matters which have, to be sure, the appearance of wisdom. In self-made religion and self-abasement and severe treatment of the body, but are of no value against fleshly indulgence. You're just changing the rules a little bit and indulging in the flesh in a little different way. That's all. That's all he's saying. Okay. Okay, I'm going to switch now topics. Well, actually, same topic. I'm going to switch gears. Let me say it that way. And I'm going to read from our church's quick reference guide. And so I just want those of you on video to know we built a quick reference guide. And in it is the major doctrines and places to find it. A lot of great information. And so we use this a lot. And there's over, I think, 70 pages to it. Several brethren have helped put it together, including myself, and over the years. And we actually have a couple of different versions of it. So I'm going to read from that because we actually gave a good description of the feast of or festival of Hanukkah. Now, according to what we just read in Colossians, do you have to observe Hanukkah? Absolutely not. No, not in any means. But for our church, we have decided to celebrate it and to observe it. And the reason is this. It shows and commemorates the light of God coming into the world. The light of God, the Shekinah glory brought back. We'll talk about that as soon as we come back in the next video. Lord bless.